quickly. So the bag burst, so some plant matter got mixed in. Here, you try it. It's good though.
It's tasty.
So pretty much what I did is after I squished it and I got some plant matter involved with that, I took it home, I put it between a 25 micron screen, I re-squished it again, so it was a little darker green, but it's got some niceness to it, like you wouldn't believe. And as always,
it's so clean. It's so easy
it's
going
like
on the
cleaning
throat.
resin that's already being contaminated, and so you know what? It's like one of those things. It was
nice.
contaminated, or all that stuff that you have that's contaminated. It's got squish it.
That was the perfect hemp too.
Well, that was the time. So we had that on the time.
What time? How long did you let that sit for?
I let that sit for. That was 43 seconds.
I don't know how to time my. What we need. I really want. I don't want to give away my secrets, but
well, there's certain ways. Like we have.
I want a
ways
Cannabis Culture app
lately.
that has a timer for dabbing on it.
We have a
dab timer on our Cannabis Culture app.
We have the 10-second heat on the bigger banger, so you heat it for 10 seconds. You hold it for about 8 seconds and you dab right away. So there's no more of this holding it for certain have a different thickness. So you can let it cool for a minute 30 seconds. Certain ones like this one here is 40. I've cooled this one. So there's different temperatures.
So how do you know which one is which though? If you're an average Joe out there, you got to be like John Burfello master level to understand.
Go to House Church on Sundays. Ask in chat. You'll get lots of answers.
There you go. So Johnny, today on the show we're going to talk about the task farce, farce. Maybe not. I'm not hopeful that in reading some of the reporting on what the task force is going to have show in their submissions to the government, it doesn't look promising on certain levels. It looks like
focusing on black market. That's what they're betting on. It's just kind of like other platforms we saw with legalization, even with alcohol. So they kind of. They're focusing on what has built the industry right now. It's like
well, that's what. Okay, so that's okay to me. That's the idea of focusing on removing the black market is the point of legalization.
Yes.
That kind of goes to me without saying. But the thing that's the problematic stuff is that they're trying to force people, or it seems like they're going to try to force people to buy the pot from the licensed producers, like the large licensed producers in the system that's there now.
Just like Molson Cannabis we talked about. So you're going to have these large licensed producers or breweries, or what we're going to call it, because it's way it's easy for people to really adjust to it. It's easy when you see these large breweries or these microbreweries. So it's like the craft cannabis that we're talking about, that's got to be, come more of another part of this system, where small growers are able to get licensing for producing for, what we have all the dispensaries that have what we can say, they have good relationships with their customers. They have different, every different club has a different kind of nationality or a different kind of culture related around to it. And if they don't allow that, you're going to see like how everything's going to be mixed. And can you hear us now? Anybody?
Check 1 2 1 2.
Are we working here?
No. It was working just a second ago, but now it's off again.
So as we slowly figure this out, can you guys hear us? Where's chat?
The chat here.
What's chat have to say? Lost sound. When did you lose it?
Yeah, it was odd when it just worked a second ago when we rattled it or something. Yeah. Alyssa, what was
something
it that you did over there
over
that made it come back on and work?
The speakers themselves turned off.
Oh.
Oh.
It sounds good now?
Hey guys, just turn on your... Hello!
We are here again.
We are back talking about what's going on with... What we were just talking about.
It's too loud.
Okay, so now I'm super loud. Sorry.
There we go. Now we're good. I don't know. I'm not sure what happened there. We lost all of our sound in-house. But yeah, people say the sound's good. Everything
sounds good. So
working okay. I think it was working for a little while there, but we just couldn't hear it in-house. Yeah, so there we go. Anyways, yes, we have lots of marijuana on the table.
Yeah. We have some guests in the audience.
We do have guests on the show today.
Talk about what we're talking about. We got lawyers.
We got lawyers, activists.
We have like-minded individuals that support the cause of.
We have J-Mac.
J-Mac's always in the house. We have Neil Magnuson hanging out. I'm sure Dad was around the Of course, Anne's here. So we have the people shouting in the background who don't have microphones.
Yeah, that happens a lot at Pod TV.
Yeah. It's like, hey.
Yeah.
So those little sounds you hear in the background, yeah, just ignore them.
That's just ignore them. Yeah. We were thinking about an audience mic, but that would be just asking for trouble.
Yeah, we're not giving it.
J-Mac would have that thing so quick in his hand.
J-Mac needs his own microphone.
That's what I'm saying. I said that's asking for trouble. Yeah. No,
okay, so, well, you know what?
So first guest on the show is Caleb McMillan. He is of Cannabis Growers of Canada. Now we're going to talk about the task force here, and
yeah, you know what? Here's one gentleman that was
Caleb
at every one of the court cases with the Coalition Against Repeal. So you're very much followed, very much knows what's going on in the industry because, well, hey, wherever I was, you were sitting right beside us.
Yes.
All I can hear is that torch.
Fine. Is that all you can hear? The torch. Torching it.
So how you doing, Caleb?
Oh, I'm doing pretty all right. How you guys doing?
Not bad, man. Not high enough yet. I got a nice bud in front of me, but
you should grab a. What happened to your bong? You used to always have a bong. Did someone get this guy a bong?
Duchess is dead.
There's got to be something with. Isn't there Redbeard bong?
Duchess is dead.
What about Redbeard bong?
Yeah, I do. There's Lovecraft.
I'm gonna do a terp dip actually,
You're right.
And Caleb's gonna tell us more about him and stop talking about us.
Yes. So Caleb, you're here representing Cannabis Growers of Canada.
Yeah, I suppose. Huh?
Yeah, and
I suppose he is. There you go. He's representing the plant.
The plant. Well, and you're just kind of an all-around expert in this field. You're a regular blogger for the Cannabis Life Network.
Cannabis Life Network.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm a blogger for them.
Yeah.
Blogs.
And I wanted to talk to you about what's going on here with this whole task force and what you think is going to be in the task force. I know we have some reporting on what's going to be there.
Yeah, some are assuming they're just going to open up the LPs to just recreational consumers through the mail, and they can't be that dumb. They're not going to recommend that. Even if they do, the government won't do it because how does that stop the storefronts, right? So,
right.
But it's definitely foreseeable.
Right. Now, yeah, I envision this. They would open it up on a provincial level to the dispensaries themselves, but they're like, you have to get your product from one of the major
LPs.
producers.
Yeah.
Right now, as we stand, we have how many licensed dispensaries in Vancouver where it's going to be?
There's not that many licensed dispensaries in Vancouver.
I was have a meeting today with someone who has their license here, and they're just submitting their taxes
right.
for their third quarter.
But did you notice if you read the bylaw, it doesn't actually include anything about production at all?
It says
in the Vancouver bylaw.
Marijuana. I was gonna go over.
At least as to my knowledge, it doesn't. I mean,
No,
Caleb,
I think they're just going to leave that for the federal guys. They were just
Exactly.
like, let's wait for the election, and then
Yeah.
Trudeau won, so now we're just going to wait for them.
The other interesting thing about the Vancouver bylaw is it doesn't say the word medical in it either. So it doesn't say, and it has no rules over how you have to ask for people's IDs or like for medical cards or anything like that. It kind of leaves it open to recreational as well.
Yeah, well, it's all the same, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Well, according to Vancouver, but they still are eliminating 90% of the dispensaries in Vancouver by implementing it. So to me, it seems like they're trying to pretend that they're helping us. They're like, "This is what you asked for." Well, we didn't ask for 90% of the dispensaries to be removed.
Yeah,
that's not what we're asking for.
The state is a very blunt instrument that should be used as a last resort.
Yeah,
and we use it for like the first resort everywhere, all the time, including the cannabis industry.
Yeah. J-Mac, you don't have a microphone. No yelling out. So.
Do you need an audience mic?
Yeah, exactly. The task force. Now, this is made up of people who, in the past, have not necessarily been friendly to our movement.
No.
Or to the cannabis.
No, not at all. There's like, Susan Boyd's really the only good one on there.
or Ware as well.
Mark Ware supports.
Yeah,
cannabis
he's
use.
decent. But seriously, it's mostly slanted against us. For sure. Yeah.
And McMillan, and what's her last name?
McClellan.
And she is actually a lawyer for the LPs, for a law firm that represents the
law
Dem.
firm. Yeah, it's a crony system, so it's bound to happen.
That's about
a revolving door.
To me, what more? I don't understand how they can get any more bold than putting somebody like that in charge. And also, Trudeau's chief financial officer during the election was Chuck Rafisi.
Yeah.
Who, like, what the fuck? It's like they're not even trying to pretend that they're hiding anything.
You could almost see it coming when they just, like, since the get-go, it was like just going to legalize incidental possession, and that's not, they're not talking about production or homegrown or anything. Like in the States, when they voted on propositions, it was like actually they knew what they were voting for. It was just a list of things, and California knew they were going to get production and home growing.
Yeah.
Well, we're getting production and homegrown with the new task force coming into play with legalization. Is the average Joe going to be able to grow a small amount of cannabis on their own, or are they going to be able to purchase it from other places? What we're looking at, right? So, as a medical patient myself, I'm able to continue growing my own. I'm grandfathered,
which gives
what are we
me
looking
an
at
incentive.
system, right? So,
Yeah, it's a good point, because that gives me an incentive to be medical. Like, if you want to clear up this recreational market versus the medical market, well, no, if the recreational has no home growing, then I'm just going to do my best to apply, become a medical, and then just grow my own.
And the whole thing is with the medical system, I have a lot of people now that are moving licenses, that are reapplying, they're getting the licenses, stuff like that. They're not getting the quantities that they were looking at in the past, but they're getting licenses so they continue growing their own, which is important. That's what I'm seeing right now. So, I mean, hopefully with this new task force we're looking at is where everybody is going to have the right to grow their own. And that's where really legalization's going to come into play, is when we don't have walls coming up that we can't actually sit there and grow tomatoes, what we do in our own backyard. There's no law around that, right? So that's what I'm hoping to see.
Right. Well, until that happens, like that tomato model, it's not really real legalization, in my opinion.
Exactly.
I mean, everybody has to be able to participate. To me, it seems like what they're trying to build is a similar model to what they did with alcohol for so long. And that's, monopolize it so it's the Molson cannabis types, and then craft cannabis isn't allowed. But, I mean, just now we're finding out the alcohol industry changes still are happening, and it was controlled so tightly by the government for so long in so many places, here in British Columbia, in places like Ontario, and it wasn't privatized really, and they've just started to do that. I mean, what's an effective strategy? I know obviously if you're wearing the hat of the Cannabis Growers of Canada, what are you guys doing, or what is that group doing to fight this kind of stuff?
Well, I think broader issue here, the broader strategy is just getting the message out. Yeah, as much as you can, as we can unite behind as one kind of culture and one movement, no matter how diverse and fractured it may be, at the end of the day, it's just a pushback against federal overreach, which I think everyone's on board right now. Like I can't. Yeah, there's little squabbles here and there, but for overall. So as far as what the growers are doing, just what any organization would want to do is represent its clients, its the vendors and the farmers, and just standardize everything. So show the provincial and federal governments that we have done our homework. We know we can follow all your rules, but I think what sets the growers apart from everything else is that ultimate goal is that we really should be getting the state out of commerce regulation. That's how we get the crony system that we have now. And cannabis is a great gateway. Of course, it's not the only gateway, but right now it's a good one. Because this is the beginning of the industry. So let's set the standards right the first time.
Well, yeah, and I know this is kind of, it's funny because we did ask for legalization, and the government seems to kind of screw every industry in this way.
Yeah, I think Ringo Starr said that.
Yeah, like we
turns to shit everything they touch.
Yeah, like and now we wanted to be part of the real world, but the real world sucks just as much as what they're doing to us. Other industries had to deal with this forever. All this monopolization techniques by the government, criminalizing the competition in certain industries.
1 minute warning.
Like, it's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous what they're going to want to. Well,
So
actually, you know what? If I look back at where I was like 20 years ago, if I was caught smoking a joint, I was going to court, going to jail. And where we are today is we're getting access. So, I mean, you know, it's going to be interesting to see how things...
So there has to be, I mean, I'm not against regulations completely, obviously. The government has to do something there. I mean, my own personal libertarian views aside, I think that people want the government to sort of build a regulatory system for marijuana, but I think it needs to be a fair one. And I assume that you guys, what's that, the bud? I'm going to show that off, though. Don't break that up yet. I want to just show it off from the bud cam first. But, you know, what do you guys envision as that model? Like, what would you guys like to see as a fair system?
That's a 420 in the house.
Exactly. Happy 420.
Happy 420. Woo! I passed the
That's
joint.
what we want to see.
You want to light
Happy
that? Because
420.
there you go.
That's what we want to see.
I'm going to
Here's
show
the
this
lighter.
off from the bud cam here.
Attach the piece and be line. Here we go.
Look at that bud. There are. This is the Mataro Blue, I think.
We're actually lighting the Mataro Blue right now.
It could be the Pineapple God as well. Here, we should probably show some of these off. It's 420.
Bud cam.
Bud cam. I don't know. It's on autofocus, so sorry, guys. Or I mean, not autofocus, manual focus. You know what I mean. So, yeah. So back to that issue.
Yes,
What do you think about what do you really want to see out? What would a fair system look like to you guys?
I don't know. Good question. It just depends on
Everybody
like you're
can grow
asking
their
me
own?
personally. Or?
Well, I was kind of, you know, when we first were talking earlier, I'm assuming that you were representing the Cannabis Growers of Canada, but I know you represent yourself as a.
Yeah.
I mean, you are kind of your own guy, no matter what you're doing.
Yeah,
I would
technically
imagine.
there is a separation between the growers and the Cannabis Life Network.
Right,
Yes.
right. So, okay, so tell me what you think would be a fair system, Caleb.
Personally, what a fair system would be complete anarcho-capitalism. And even that, I know the arguments that it would lead back to a state. Yeah, it might take a couple generations, but even that new status reality would be better than the social contract idea, metaphysical idea that we have, because it would be social. I'm getting right in deep into it, but basically, yeah. Long story short, is anarcho-capitalism. It would be the best system to have. So it transcends cannabis. But certainly cannabis is a good way, like I was saying, a gateway, because here we are at the start of the industry. Let's set the conditions right, which is currently the status quo is statist monopoly of law and order, and they've gotten their hands in everything now, including regulation. That's not the way to go. So to sum up, yeah, a free and fair market for me is just where the regulatory apparatus is also provided by entrepreneurs, not just governments. Mm-hmm. So to me, that's a free and fair system. Of course, then, you know, all the other stuff, home growing.
So then you wouldn't, I mean, obviously you're not down with all of the other systems that are out there right now then. I mean, pretty much across the board.
Across the board. Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, state. The government
Right.
screws up everything it touches.
Yeah. So I'm assuming that the group, as I was assuming when we talked earlier, I thought you were being a representative of Cannabis Growers of Canada, so maybe I was confused about that. But I thought you were a blogger from CLN, and I knew that, but I thought you were representing them as well. I thought that's the way you were.
Well, I think what I said 5 minutes ago before 420, that summed up the CGC pretty well. Whatever I said then, just go back there and listen to it.
Yeah. So I mean, I think. Yeah, what you said, I actually agree with what you said. I think the market should be determining a lot of these things itself. But I'm assuming that, you know, the local bodies are going to want the basics of it, like, you know, fire regulations and all of those types of things.
Yeah, well, of course, that's right. Living in the society we have, you're going to have some kind of state regulations. But they get to, if I'm going to represent CGC, then I think that's what sets it apart from the other organizations, is that the long-term goal is that we should get the state out of commerce regulation. That's market regulation. We should have we should rely more on entrepreneurs to provide the goods and services that we want, rather than bureaucracy, which I think has been discredited. You know, 20th century is a pretty big body count behind just more state control and regulation. And even policing of the language, as we now see with Bill C-16, changing the Human Rights Act and Criminal Code. So you must use certain gender pronouns or you're a criminal. And that's a dangerous.
That's crazy shit.
Step.
So what's your thought on Bill S-10 and with the laws around that, with mandatory sentencing and with legalization coming into play? Where do you think those laws might come into play with the new platform?
Well, those who fall out of the am I still on? Because I don't hear myself. As well
Yeah,
as
can we hear ourselves?
I think,
Yeah. Okay. Well. Okay. So I'm still on. I think those who fall out of the regulatory system are still going to be punished. It's going to be probably still mandatory. They might get rid of mandatory minimums after a while, but I don't know. Once it's in there, it's hard to get out.
Exactly. It's
How,
kind of
but
like
will
it's
a
going to
judge?
take 3 sessions.
But will a judge not deem that unconstitutional at some point?
Yeah, I think if it's going to cost a lot of money, maybe the government. Well, it's just a trade-off, right? Is it just politically feasible, or is there the political capital to just get rid of mandatory minimums, or can we just ignore it and keep it? Like, what's the cost, overall cost? And that's the thing. Everything in life is a trade-off, right? But with the state, it's totally arbitrary. We just have to trust them. With the market, you actually have to pay for your mistakes, and that's why I think across the board it should be a free market.
Yeah.
I've always said with that law that it's mandatory sentencing for 6 months or more. It's like they've already set in place that we can all grow like a certain amount of plants with this whole platform coming into play. Hoping. Something in that point. Everybody
Fingers
can grow.
crossed.
It'd be nice. Everybody's got to be able to grow.
So, yeah, and I'd even be cool with Shoppers Drug Mart and London Drugs carrying weed, everybody should be allowed to.
Yeah, who cares who does that? Yeah, as long as everybody can do it.
Just access, and that's what we're looking at.
And then the market works out where people want to go. And if you do it right, then they come to you. And whoever does it the best gets the most customers.
When I was throwing a plug with a bunch of Cannabis Culture addresses.
307 West Hastings.
Yeah, you would.
Well, cool, man. I really appreciate you coming on, Caleb,
thanks for
and
having me.
sharing your views with us. We got to have you back again. You do a lot of great work. People can want to drop all the website addresses.
Sure. There's cannabislifenetwork.com, and I'll be on there. I'm under the blog section, and my name was Caleb McMillan. I guess I have a website, calebmcmillan.com. That doesn't get a lot of traffic, but at least there you can find everything that I do. Not everything, but most stuff. And thanks for having me on, Jeremiah.
Yeah, for sure, man. Awesome. We'll have you back again soon. Thanks for being here. And you should smoke this joint. I don't know what it is.
Cool. So there's some resin left on the glass here from the last show from marijuana. And this is where Al was sitting, and he had all his resin out. It's right here.
Oh.
So what you're seeing me doing right
Resin.
now.
Al did a jump in on my show and a co-host yesterday with it for a second, and he tends to leave a little bit of a mess behind.
So
him.
I'm just like heating it up with a lighter, and then wiping it off with a rollie. And then I got this rollie full of resin that we can roll a joint with.
Resin rolly.
See, never waste resin.
That was Craig X. What's up, Craig X? Not bad.
It's a nice white ash, actually. Well,
This mic's a
there's some
little hot, but
quality,
it's good otherwise.
quality
Still a
cannabis
little
coming
hot.
from you guys right there. Huh?
Sorry, just you're a little hot, Johnny. Too much.
Grab
for
his
the
mic.
killing.
Thanks.
We're good. She's doing it.
Some
We're all
people say
right.
more than a
Good.
little.
You got it?
Everything well? You guys? Sorry, I got here late. I tried to make it for 4:20, but parking was a pain in the ass.
Parking was a pain in the ass today.
Tell you
I
what.
couldn't park in the back lot. It was too packed.
Yeah,
you what.
because there's an idiot
tight.
parked down there, the Land Rover, that's like 2 feet from the wall, so you can't get around them to the end spots.
there's
People
too
gotta
many
learn how to
Parking is a
park.
goddamn nightmare in this city, no
Too many
matter
people
where you
around.
are. It's just terrible.
Well, yeah,
I kinda
'cause
like
now
my
they
parking spot because
put
I
in
pay
all
for
the-
the day, and then I can just come and go as I please. But you know what? There's other people over here.
They put in all the parking.
we got the crew.
we got
shared
like
bikes
crowd,
and took
so
away a bunch of less parking spots. So all the bike sharing ate up more
Let's
and more
not talk
parking
about
spots.
the free parking spots.
Yeah, no, Al was on the show yesterday. It was really good. I just stopped by to chill out here, roll a joint for a minute, duck in to get out of the rain, plug higher for a little bit for a second, and just say hey, everything's well. See how you're doing. I saw the Cannabis Life Network guys down here. Some of y'all have heard that I'm going to be helping those guys out as well too with some video stuff. So.
Are you rolling down to?
Yeah, so I guess we can announce it here. Going to be down at the Emerald Cup this next weekend, the 10th and 11th down out in Sonoma County
Nice
area.
job.
down at the fairgrounds.
Enjoy.
Gonna be down there at the Cannabis Life Network, hooligans running around with some jazz hands and some fucking dog and pony show down there with some cameras and some microphones and some lights and some action.
Jazz hands.
And we'll be running around down there at the Emerald Cup, one of the largest and oldest, most recognizable cups, all sun-grown, organic, good Northern California buds. So we're gonna run down there, shoot the shit out of that, and then come back up. And then, I don't know, Jer, I was thinking about it yesterday on my show. I was thinking it's nice doing shows from here, but I kind of like the shows on the road sometimes. And I was thinking that, I don't know, do you have plans on like the 15th? I was thinking maybe I might go to Montreal and do my show out there. I don't know, I just thought, I know there's a lot of people in the room here, but Jared, do you feel like maybe coming with me?
Yeah.
I think I could go to Montreal, yes.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that more, because it was just something I was thinking about yesterday after the show. I just felt like I could use a little sort of vacation, but maybe I might just...
That sounds like a good idea.
And you've been working so hard as of late.
Just a vacation.
Yeah.
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 Not for work or anything.
No, just to go hang out there for a few days.
Just for a vacation.
Around different.
For at least one day.
Yeah, just at least going for a day anyway. So I don't know if that interests you at all, but I was thinking I might do
very
that.
interesting. I like that idea,
like that
actually.
idea.
Well, let's you and I talk about that more.
Johnny,
and then,
do you want to come to Montreal?
You know what? I never.
I think I've already got my plane ticket.
Yeah. Well, I might have already booked mine, so we can talk more about this. I don't know. I think Todd might come. There might be a few people who might. Jody, I heard she could use a couple days off as well too.
I think
Wow,
Jody's
I
going
think
to
there's a few
come
people
to
heading
Montreal too. I can just sense it. I can feel it.
So, well, because the
Everybody
three of us, we always, whenever we go together, we just have the best nachos.
That's right.
So,
And Montreal nachos are the best.
famous.
by-
World
Don't
famous.
they have
of
good
course.
pizza?
They put gravy and cheese on it.
They're excellent.
Yeah.
So maybe nacho date Montreal. We'll let you guys know on
Yeah,
some
les
potential
nachos.
future dates coming soon. That said, everything else is good. Just want to come by and say hi, And
Yeah.
stay tuned. I'll probably, in all likelihood, next weekend try and do some live jump-ons in and when I can. So watch on the Cannabis Culture and
Well,
the
it's
Pot
gonna have to
TV.
be. I'm just saying. It's
What
the
days-
16th would have to be the
what
day.
days
the show.
are
We have
you
to do a
down
live
there?
show in Montreal then.
Montreal, I plan on being there for the 15th.
When's
for my
Cali,
show.
though?
Do you
But
wanna
Cali,
do-
yes.
We'll do a show on the 16th.
Yeah, we're doing 15, 16 in Montreal.
Sounds like good. We make plans just that quick.
That's how
Well, just before
on the
Christmas,
spot. We
so-
just made
on
that
the fly.
plan. Yeah.
The 10th and 11th, we'll be down at the Emerald Cup down there, Sonoma County Fairgrounds. Watch for me on Expert Joints. Watch for me on some Cannabis Culture, some Pot TV, possibly the Cannabis Life Network as well too. We're going to shoot as much as we can. I'm really looking forward to it. Going to be several hundred booths and lots of the marijuanas. So I like that. I got a microphone and running around and causing ruckus. That's what I do. So I'm going to go do it. So you guys stay tuned. Next week, of course,
Make
we'll talk
sure to
about
bring the ruckus.
yeah, because Wu-Tang Clan ain't
Or the
nothing to fuck with.
motherfucker.
I'll be, of course, talking about more on my show this Thursday with some of the guys from Canada Market. That's enough for a hijack. It just feels good to jump in on Johnny's show for a minute. I was going to throw him out of the seat for a second.
I think last week you came to the window and we're outside the window.
I was rubbing my nipples on the window for a while. It could happen.
just one.
It could.
Just
I was
one.
like,
No,
they just
I'm
show
glad
up
I
and kind of. I was
switched
just
that.
explaining
Yeah,
how you
yeah.
have this great list of things going on, and I like to just come in and grab something at the bottom of the list. And
Just rejig everything.
Grabs a nipple at the bottom of the
man.
list.
Check the replay of yesterday, Medicine
Oh,
Men. We
yeah.
talked to Andy Williams out of
of Medicine
Denver.
here.
That was great. Saltwater Cowboy, Tim McBride with another session. It was good times. Plus, we also talked about the 2 new cannabis cultures in Toronto and Scarborough.
Yes.
121 Montezuma. And as well, we've got the new
Montezuma.
1201, 1208, 12-something. Queen Street West.
Wait. I'll tell you what it is.
Level one?
Hamilton.
I'll tell you what it is
Yeah,
right now.
so
right
we've
now.
got Scarborough covered. And I got the addresses here as well too. Yeah, unfortunately we lost the 1184 Eglinton store as well too. But one step back, two
12.
steps
It's
forward.
1205 Queen West.
Perfect.
1205 Queen West. That's the Scar. Oh wait, that's
No.
the
New
new.
Queen
That's
West.
the Toronto store.
Yeah.
We have 2 Queen West stores now,
4 blocks from each
and
other.
a Queen
now.
East store.
Yeah, we sure do. Queen Street, we got it good.
Sweet Jesus.
And then we've got the Montezuma, 121 Montezuma up in Scarborough.
Those locations aren't really that close to each other, though.
No, but there's just 2 more new ones in Toronto. So that's 6 now in Toronto when you include 801 Queen West, 711 Queen East, 461 Church, 365 King. These 2 new ones, and like I said, 1184 Eglinton.
It's making my head spin.
Yeah, right.
But that Eglinton's gone.
Eglinton had to go,
Yeah.
but like we said, 1 step forward, back, and 2 steps forward. We pulled this week, and I think there might
1 step back, 6 steps forward.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if there was a 3rd step forward coming soon.
Or multiple.
But, stay tuned for Cannabis Culture and Pod TV for live breaking news.
There's
You never know
endless
what's gonna
steps
happen.
forward coming soon.
Okay, well, I'm going to
Endless
step the
steps.
fuck off. You guys enjoy the rest of the show. I got a joint over there waiting for me. I felt awkward the whole
Peace,
time.
homie.
Empty hands. Thanks very much. I'll see you Thursday. Peace.
Thanks, man. Awesome. That's our man, Big C. Craig. What's up, Craig? What's up, Craig?
Oh, Big Craig got more news.
See you next Tuesday. Big C McCrack. So we have the Peanut Gallery over here. Rob Laurie's in the house, and Jamie Shaw is in the house, and they're also going to come over here and grab microphones. They're not going to be members of the Peanut Gallery any longer.
Should I?
They got the nuts part covered.
I mean, Rob really should take front and center here. I think.
Oh yes, that's right. Yes. He wants to see himself in the reflection on the table.
Okay, don't touch.
Anything.
John,
We got some important information here coming up, so I figured, it only seems right for me to kind of step up and talk more about what's going on here is, of course, this guy. The guy that represents a lot of us here in
I
town.
want to hold his hand under the table, so.
They do like
All right.
Hey.
The big
So,
table.
and wait, we have the hot seat
Hi,
cam
Jamie.
here. There's,
Get over
hi,
here.
Jamie.
I'm all right.
How's it going,
I'd
Jamie?
rather be sit beside Jamie, though. Than
Yes, we're not
Oh yeah.
trying to ditch.
I feel
Yeah, I
like
know.
the
That's-
old couple
yeah.
in the Muppets.
I
Hey, we just sit here and make fun
The
of
two
them
old
the whole
guys.
time.
Are those guys? Look at those guys. look at this. See this?
Video.
Should take a picture of this.
my mouth gets all gummed
See
up.
better.
Yeah, we do
So-
look like the 2 old guys on the Muppet Show.
What's going on over here? It's like,
Rob,
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Nice to see you.
You
Thank
too.
You for having me.
You're welcome for having you, and thank you for being here.
Right on. Well, yeah, I know Jamie came with me.
gotta get the picture
we've been
here.
doing a lot of work together with here we go. Picture. All right.
Oh, it's all selfie styles over there. Oh,
Definitely.
nice.
gotta get
Look at
that stuff going on.
So
we were
it-
taking a picture of you.
Oh, they were. Oh, I see. I
So
thought
it's
it was
kind of been like
taking
Rob
a
and
selfie of us.
Jamie's excellent adventures. We've been meeting with municipalities
Oh, I got a
throughout
timer
BC
too.
and helping
Traveling through time, collecting members of the past.
in a phone
for
booth,
a
yeah.
high school history project.
Which
yeah.
we passed. We all got A's. No, so there's been a lot of things going on in the dispensary space with regulation.
Yeah.
And what we're really seeing, and Jamie can add to this, but we're seeing a real patch quilt type of regulation. Vancouver is very different than Victoria, and I'm starting to see clients now getting. Well, talk of regulation, being regulated and getting licenses in various interior municipalities, which is good. But back home in Vancouver, it seems to be a real mess that we're in with the Board of Variance. And really, I just wanted to come on the show today and give some heads up that for any other people that are appearing before Board of Variance, really make sure that you focus in on the site-specific hardship. Gone are the days where you could fill a room at a BOV with, 30 patients and business owners and they would see site-specific hardship in the fact that all of these people and businesses would be disenfranchised. Mm-hmm. Not anymore. They've got, George Chow is a member of the federal task force discussed earlier. Martha Welsh.
He was an opponent of Insight.
That's right. But at least he was getting, understanding what was going on and making some, voting some variances. Mm-hmm. Martha Welsh mysteriously disappeared. We still don't know. Yeah, I don't know. You can talk to that, I guess. No? Okay.
Can't talk to that?
Oh, no?
Can't talk to that.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Disappeared. What's
So,
going on here?
and then so that's left.
She sleeps with the fishes.
Yeah. Oh my word. But that leaves now people going each week and basically coming up against 2-2 deadlocks.
Oh, man.
So, we have Tony Tan now, who's, again, a very tough customer.
Yeah.
He makes it very clear on
He was
the
at
record.
ours at that time, wasn't he? Yeah.
I imagine.
I think so. I can't remember.
But really,
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
And so I guess what I've been doing to prepare for the Board of Variances coming up is ordering the audio tapes at City Hall and listening to the various appearances where they've granted dispensaries and they've used a certain line of logic. And our feeling is, well, if we can argue and put our arguments inside that Trojan horse and use their words and their methodology, it'll be, I think, a lot harder for them to skirt the issue.
What are some of those? What are some of the reasons that people have been granted the variance?
This would be a great time to jump over to Jamie because she's had a lot more success.
Yeah, you guys got a nice little
what gets you a pass,
application
Jamie?
on the wall when I drive up. You see this nice little.
Over at the club.
Over the club now, so
there's
it's
a
nice
bunch
to
of places.
There's a bunch of places, but it's
yeah.
nice to see that you've gone past that point. So
Yeah, well, I haven't been there for quite a while. I actually left both Cam CD and the club in April, and so yeah, I've been helping different dispensaries kind of get through the BOV, and you know we're getting there. There's 8 licenses. There's 22 conditional permits so far. There's about another 14 still in the system. There's a whole bunch more still coming for their variants. So when we were already sitting at about 30% of where we were, so hopefully we can keep pushing that up. But you know, as Rob said, it's been a bit of a shit show. I mean, they don't have precedent, so sometimes that's good. Sometimes
they're not obliged to follow precedent either.
No, which is huge. It's helpful in some situations, like I said, but then there's other times where it ends up being arbitrary because they could say yes for this reason for this one application and no for the same reason to another application. So it can be tricky that way.
Yeah, and so you've got no idea how to prepare for these applications, and so some dispensaries are hiring external experts and professionals to engage in expensive reports that demonstrate how their business has actually rejuvenated neighborhoods, and you know, it falls on deaf ears.
Right, they don't care about that.
They honestly don't, and so the only area that they really are now just electing to focus on is site-specific hardship. To answer your question, that is the answer really is difficult because there have been some dispensaries recently. I haven't represented them, but Kirk and Jamie had a few in the Granville Entertainment District where they were successful. And why that's an interesting case is they're in the Granville Entertainment Zone where technically the bylaw specifically states they're not supposed to operate there. So how they got through was quite remarkable.
what about also with the downtown east side? There's a few people I've seen with applications.
How did that happen?
By those, which is a key important with harm reduction. I think there should be one every 3 stores, to be honest.
I
And
agree.
that argument was working at first with them, that specific argument, and now they've kind of gone past that, and they're like, okay, well, what was the reasoning behind making the exclusion zone? The last time we heard it had to do with the security, poor security on the side streets.
Exactly.
So it had nothing to do with anything else, and so it evolves as we go.
So that's what good. We're seeing that involvement, though, which is you're hearing more and more of people getting, the licenses are being not being approved yet, but at least to get into those next stages where they're being actually
There's no guarantee.
They can't. No guarantee. Exactly.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
we have 8. You said 8 that are now legal.
There's 8 that are licensed at the moment. Yeah,
And
but
you know
of
what?
those,
They used to make them. I was hearing more people talking more about them, but now I don't really hear them anymore. Whereas, this one just got licensed, and then now it's kind of like dwindled off. So
it's a slog. It's a long process. I know one group that got their variance back in May, and we're hoping to have the sign permit any day now for them. It's just been it's bureaucracy. It's like the same thing that you guys were talking about with Caleb in terms of legalization and everything else. When you make something mainstream, you're going to have all the same problems you have with everything else that's mainstream.
yeah,
right?
well, of course, right?
And
It's just like with anything.
and that's really a nice segue into the next topic because from these Board of Variants, you end up with dispensaries who have either been granted a variance or their variance has been denied. Variance is granted, you of course proceed to the next stages, and really it's a crapshoot whether you get through. But the option really available, or only option available if you lose your Board of Variance, is to consider filing a judicial review, which essentially I try to get the ones I've been retained within 60 days of the date of the decision. because under the Vancouver Charter, there is no appeal process or revealable authority of that decision other than through the BC Supreme Court under the Judicial Review Procedures Act. But the difficulty with a judicial review is you're really limited only to what transpired on that record, for your appearance. So let's say some stuff was said behind the scenes that wasn't on the record, or promises were made, or expectations and so on. Those issues would never able to see the light of day in a Board of Variance, because you're again limited to the record. And we're seeing at the BOV both the variance saying, well, if you don't like it, take it up with City Hall, and City Hall says, well, no, we have the Board of Variance process, or basically the charter says we can do what we want.
That became their refrain for multiple. They were tired. They're not really meant to be dealing with these types of issues, right? They normally deal with, I want to make my deck a foot higher. That's what
Garages.
I want to do.
They weren't anticipating this type of a job, and they're being exhausted. It's like, we're done with.
And the stakes are a lot higher. When the patients come in and they've heard all of their stories, that's not the same as saying, well, my sign should be able to be a little bit farther out than the other guy's sign because I'm like at an angle on the property lot. That's what they normally do.
So to sum it up, it's almost like the system was designed to fail. I mean, this was touched on in the discussion.
MMAR?
In the discussion earlier, you've got such a low percentage of dispensaries being licensed. Right. I mean, the catchphrase I've kind of summed this all up with is it's an elimination strategy, not a regulatory policy, and the proof's in the pudding. Right. So because judicial review is so limited, there's a number of dispensaries that are like, you know what, we will take the Board of Variance's advice, and I guess it's time we sue the city and the Board of Variance, either through bringing a declaratory administrative constitutional challenge, which is one avenue, but there's also the 27 dispensaries who received petition injunctions. And so that was in the papers yesterday or the day before about how the city's issued all these bylaw fines and 24% of them have been paid. Well, what they didn't mention is Kirk Tusaw, myself, and Don Briere's lawyer, Dean Davison, we've put the city on notice of our intention to respond to the petition with a Section 2, freedom of expression, Section 7, security of the person, and Section 15, equality rights. So their little petition injunction that they thought would be 30 minutes, maybe application in chambers, has now been met with 3 grounds of a charter challenge, which we're probably not going to see the light of day in a courthouse for 2 to 4 years. So that's that action, but that still doesn't address the...
So what happens in the interim, though? If it doesn't happen for 2 years, does that stop what they're doing in any way? Or
it depends.
It just allow them to continue?
The city hasn't brought an application where they're ordering the immediate shutdown of dispensaries. I mean, that was what was ordered, the shutdown date on April 29th.
Right.
But, dispensaries were just as illegal today as they were last year or last week.
Yep.
The issue is, again,
exactly. Well, that's
10 years ago.
The other thing, in the meantime, we've got other cities that are moving ahead as well. Little cities that probably didn't feel strong enough standing up to the federal government. Now Victoria's doing it, Vancouver's doing it. They feel better doing it, right?
Yeah.
So we'll see more and more.
And a shout out to the Interior, because I heard that, at least in Vernon, there's supposed to be a raid on December the 12th. That they've heard dispensaries are asking, what should we do on the 12th? And well, I guess the answer is shut down. There's no law that says you have to.
Well, wait. How do they know the raid is happening on the 12th?
Yeah, I think it was last year.
Last year.
No, there's been discussion. People have been calling up saying we've heard from City Hall in Vernon, and there's supposed to be a raid on the 12th. And I'm like, that's kind of dumb if that got leaked. I mean, the element of surprise is kind of key.
I always hear about there's going to be a raid on this day, that day.
Yeah, but we've been hearing that since
supposed to be
letters. Yeah.
Well, people ask, well, what should we do? And I guess the question is, well, you're just as likely to have a raid tomorrow as any other day. Plan accordingly. So,
get arrested.
Can you speak to the bylaw in Port Coquitlam that's now going to take property away from
The bylaw in Port Coquitlam is now going to take
Poco
property
bylaw.
away.
Yeah, no, I've heard that, and
So-
that's what they're doing in Surrey, which was the other reason.
Oh,
But let's
yeah.
look
Surrey
at Poco first. But what we're seeing now, and again, I'll be blunt, I'm not as, like, there's been so much happening lately. Poco is...
Port Coquitlam, British Columbia.
Yeah, Poco dispensary raids, probably the area I'm not. But what you talk about is, yeah, we're seeing municipalities using fines. And if you attach to a fine an underlying piece of property that if a bill or a fine isn't paid by a certain date, then they can enforce against the property to collect. And so Toronto was very good at that with Operation Claudia and the lead up. They tried to split the D, if you will, between tenants and landlords. They've tried that with limited success in Vancouver. But Surrey, and this is again a shout out, and I'm hoping there's viewers that know people or they're experiencing this themselves, but this municipality, the city of Surrey, I've been getting a lot of referrals from John Conroy from MMAR growers who are, legally going about their business only to be met by the electrical fire safety inspection team, who've been hitting them with $6,000 fines, saying, well, you've made changes, and despite those changes being, none for me, in compliant with the electrical code, there's this whole dog and pony show where you need to get a license, and then before you get a license, you need an inspection. And so the point I'm trying to get at is there's a lot of things I've been told about what inspectors have been saying to people, which from what I've been told sounds to me that, there's bias, improper influences, and which is ultimately the city of Surrey, I believe, using their bylaws for improper purposes. So what I'm asking today is, again, if you got any stories or folks who have been dealing with this, please send them my direction. I'm pretty easy to contact, Facebook or through my law firm at Lucem Law Corp. But if we can get enough of these stories, just like we can get enough dispensaries coming forward and sharing how their treatment has been and where there's been instances of, mistreatment or preferential treatment. I mean, there's so much going on here that I think once we lay all the pieces down, we're then better able to address these challenges before the courts.
Now, I was looking, when you posted this online, somebody in the chat posted a link to Surrey's bylaw or to the actual document about that particular Surrey task force, head up by Len Garris.
Len Garris, Chief
Right.
Len Garris.
And so now, and he's such a scumbag, this guy. I'm sorry, but he's just now, and I'm not just saying that.
The points
This is
of
in a
CCN
court,
News do not reflect the views of Cannabis Culture.
in a court of law, the judge Phelan called Len Garris out and others that were trying to
Good
say
point.
this bogus
Yes.
stuff. So to me, that should be that's got to be worth something.
Oh, well, that's a great point.
And they're using Daryl Plekis' studies on the Surrey City website.
okay,
That's
so-
all total shit.
So Allard happened. We all know that, but that decision hasn't really
Tell us more.
filtered to the city of Surrey. And so when you look online, you read the guidance. The guidance goes back to 2006, 2013. I think some of it's even written by Len Garris. A lot of that was all considered egregious testimony by Judge Michael Phelan.
Yeah.
And so that I've been dealing with Benji Lee, who's head of legal at City of Surrey, and it's a huge disconnect because they say, well, that's fine. They might have a license at the federal level, but we, City of Surrey, are responsible for health and safety, and if you're growing in an environment that's not safe, then we need to step in. That's the mandate, but that's not what's happening. They're using this as a means to collect $6,000 from people, and then in order to remediate your property, which can cost tens to hundreds of thousands depending on the property and the situation, you then have to go to the City of Surrey's approved list of professionals to remediate your property. But before you can do that, you have to remove everything: lights, fans, ballast, lights, plants, so it's safe for the inspection to take place. If you then apply for a permit and a bylaw to do the growing activity, you won't get it because I don't believe anyone's been issued a license by the City of Surrey that allows them to do their federally conferred
find
right.
out about that for
So again, this is a community and a network here, and I'm out here to ask for help because in order for me to do my job and represent clients watching and clients in the room and future clients, we need to That's like a Hail Mary joint.
That was a perfect land. I mean, that was a perfect throw. Look, landed right in front of his microphone.
And, again, if the Cannabis Life Network crew, they obviously have their ears to the railroad track. We all got to work together. So, I mean, if there's people coming forward and growers, I want to hear about this. Because I even heard from one person that told me that during their inspection, the inspector said something like, hey, we're even putting more salt in the water now, so your stuff burns black, right? And I mean, that drives me crazy hearing that. That's terrible. Even if that's true, not like a part true, it's still terrible.
Surrey's got perfect water pH at 6.3. That's why everybody moved to Surrey. Just saying.
Oh, well, so there's a lot you can do. People are saying what we can do, and I guess the key is come forward with your story so we can figure out what to do with it.
I did work at the Pacific Northwest Garden Supplies in Surrey, the Surrey store. That is their head office, and people were going through these processes years ago. Like I remember they were like Kathy and stuff like that. And she went through, and it was costing she got fined $6,000. Exact same thing. This was going on. So this has been going on for quite some time.
Like 30-minute inspection, $6,000.
And I haven't been working at the head office for a couple of years. I'm now in mission, but I mean, this is just progressively getting worse and worse, like you're saying. Because now that we know what we're legal, now they're coming at us in a different way.
And one thing to remember: if you've been hit recently by one of these safety inspections, right, where you've been hit with the fine, you have 30 days under the the Safety Standards Act.
Everything's at 30 days with
Section 50. And so, I brought with one client, it's coming up in a couple weeks, but it's, you get to appeal the decision of the safety inspector, which the evidence that we have was his electrician said, no, everything's done to code. The house is built a 200 amp service, right? But he's operating below that. You call up BC Hydro and they say, well, we don't have a limit. And then all of a sudden there's policies and so on. So there seems to be a lot of double dealing, and in order to kind of put your finger and hold them to account, we need the detail, and the devils are in the detail, and that's what you need for good litigation.
Double dealing is BC Hydro and taxing all of the big hydro bills, because I mean you get into different tiers, and I've seen it since I've changed over to different lighting. My tiers have dropped, so you just see this, like what they're doing is like this these inspections that they're going to start forcing on legal growers. Mm-hmm. I mean that's a form of harassment.
Like catch-22.
It is. Well, there's gonna be a lot more.
So I mean, we're going to see with this task force. Are they going to put in some kind of a system where legal growers, because they're part of that task force, as in cannabis in Canada, that have to be inspected? I'm kind of curious on where that's going to come into play too, because they're also part of that process of me. I'm personally able to grow my own, but they're part of that process.
But this also highlights one of the problems with the issue. So when the MMMAR existed, there was no legal opinion circulating to cities saying that patients are going to sue you if you ban them from growing. That nothing was done about that. Then, when the MMPR came in, there were legal opinions that went out saying that if they didn't allow a licensed producer in their town, the patients could sue them for restricting access, which makes zero sense when you're talking about mail order and everything. Literally makes no sense.
No sense.
But the legal opinion went around. Now the ACMPR is in, people are allowed to grow, and it very specifically says you have to follow all of your municipal bylaws, your provincial bylaws, and nobody's really done it yet. We tried to get Vancouver. When San Francisco came out with their dispensary regulations, they also had personal growing regulations, and they were pretty reasonable. Yeah. So we tried to get Vancouver to do that too, but the city didn't look at it. None of the cities are looking at it.
No.
Right? Yeah. So when you're talking about the task force trying to go after the black market, what are you doing about supply? You can keep shutting down as many dispensaries as you want. You know how many online dispensaries there are?
Well, they're popping up like crazy. Online's becoming the thing, and that's what I saw today was in the news. I saw him back and forth St. John is how a postal worker was complaining about him delivering packages of weed all the time. Yeah, so I mean, that's just the next phase. That's just the next hit in the news about what's going on, how we're going to attack this, and so what's the next step? I say the next step is, well, like I say, I talk about is going to be distribution through a storefront, through some kind of a mechanism that's in every small town.
Yeah, mail order marijuana cup.
Mail orders, there you go. Yep. Neil's saying a plug for the mom's cup.
Yeah, 12 high
you knock them out of the park.
Yeah, so I mean, now this is the next thing is we're having this, we're having that. Okay, so now they're talking about sneaky weed in the mail. Hey, I've gone to the mail and I've been inside the mailbox and been handed a box that reeks. So I mean,
well.
Many of those get lost, though.
What's coming out really is everyone's like, oh, legalization. No, it's Prohibition 2.0.
Right.
And, everyone's, what's coming? Will there be dispensaries? No, what's in place is what's in place and what has been in place. And, the whole task force is just window shopping or window dressing. They have to essentially retrofit the foregone conclusion and say, well, that's what Canada wants, right? And most
there was
people
a poll that I just read recently that 67% of Canadians support a model of a Shoppers Drug Mart or a liquor store model for distribution.
Good for them.
Well, sure, that's good.
We're already seeing this, right?
Yeah, people want it in all ways, and everybody should be allowed to.
No, but what's I think going to happen?
They can't. This is my question. I just wanted to ask a question about. I don't think it's like. Do you think it's possible for the LPs to produce enough marijuana to supply this country?
No, not if they're growing indoor and doing it in the way they have been. I was in South Oregon 2 weeks ago at the Oregon Cannabis Business Conference, and it's like the Okanagan down there. And Canada only considered, and we met the lawyers that were bragging about, we were the ones that met with your government and told them what policy they should be coming up with. And I mean, they're like and so they were there, and I'm listening to this going, well, you do realize you're going to be undercut 6 ways from Sunday, like Pakistan, India, Nicaragua, Mexico, Kelowna, like anywhere you can grow outside or inside or have access is going to be able to grow cannabis, which means there's a huge substitute and alternative to what the government system is. It would be like them saying you can only use solar energy if you buy a permit from us and get all your solar equipment from licensed people at inflated rates. Most people go, fuck that. I'm going down to John's place to get some thermal panels and hook it up.
Crazy Dave's solar warehouse.
Exactly. And that's essentially the government now is going to use all this high-handed law enforcement to go after people using solar power who've done it without getting the permit. And even if there was a permit process, it's a elimination strategy, not a regulatory policy. So at the end of all of this, these people that are running to the market and going, like, I'm a capital markets guy. I used to represent people worth $500 million and more under management. None of them are rushing into cannabis. Why? Because when they were doing this with pharmaceutical companies, they realized that an agricultural product being sold as a pharmaceutical is a false economy. And then you add that other layer of prohibition prices. And really, I think that, they're not going to realize the returns they do. So the more people that grow, stand up, do their own thing, however, ask questions, challenge, get informed, then the better they're able to say, hey, we're not buying into your emperor wears no clothes, market scheme.
Well, the owners of Metrum did pretty well.
But is that based
$430 million.
But is that based on their cannabis production, or is that buying assets on a balance sheet?
No. Have you seen Metrum's cannabis production? Have you seen their weed?
No, because
it's terrible. I have seen it. I've smoked it. It's not good. It comes in a big jar, plastic jar with a red lid, a white jar.
I had a discussion with an LP owner, and he was all complaining about, how do we deal with these larger competitors? And I'm like, well, none of you are prepared to do what's absolutely necessary in business. Like, what's that? Well, if you look at Canopy and these other Metrum, add them to that pile, they're not producing, I believe, enough cannabis to cover all of their book debt and their financial leverage commitments that they had in startup.
Right.
Which means if they based their analysis at $10 to $15 a gram and are having to sell at $7 and keep dropping to $5, well, I said to this LP, why don't you crash the plane into the mountain, make sure there's enough parachutes, and make sure the rest of them follow you? They won't be able to survive. If you're planned and prepared for the plane crash, drop your price to $250. These other people will not be able to follow. You will crash the market. But no one wants to do it. Why? Because it costs money to be a legal licensed producer, whereas an illegal grower who's doing $4.5 million a month is essentially realizing returns and gains that I don't know how the legal LPs will do that with all of this regulation.
No.
It's the Dutch bulb crisis all over again.
Yeah, and people will continue to go to the black market because they're already going there.
Well, they have been since weed was invented 28 million years ago.
Exactly. I know the government
invented, it just grew. It just came out of the earth.
It's everywhere.
Yeah. Green market.
Right, but what you're looking at, even with legalization upon us and stuff like that, we still have a market that most people see. There's torture sitting out. We've got all extractions.
Derivative markets will be huge.
The derivative markets are huge. I mean, all I'm using is concentrate forms of different pure forms, but I can do my own mixations and stuff like that, my own concoctions, instead of buying from an LP dried out weed because they're not standardizing it.
Yeah. Like,
because they haven't done it yet.
A pound of this here was basically, I read a report I posted online. Before, was it 1937, I think it was a pound of basically India hemp weed.
I'm giggling because the chat's demanding that you eat at least one Matero blue bud.
Who says that?
That's what the chatters are demanding, apparently.
Psychoactive?
If you eat it? No, you're right, it's not. Well, it shouldn't be if it's this deep.
Anyway, because it's already been dried out, so...
Yeah, maybe.
But anyway, the point is that what else do we
that
was
buy?
Pineapple
God.
Just saying, if that was raw, you would be fine. But since it's dried, the drying, the curing process has then some of it has converted, has been decarbed. So that is.
Or will I go totally
just
sideways?
Saying, just letting you know.
Stepping stone?
I don't know how much, but there's definitely some THC.
What else do
it's
we?
Not
do?
acid form, because if I tested that, that'd probably come back at roughly about 18% THC, 3% THCA.
Right on. Well,
just saying.
What else do we grow in the earth that we sell for more than $1,000 a pound? There's very few things. There's
saffron.
Yes, but in BC, right? With saffron takes a lot of effort and conditions, whereas cannabis
is expensive, man.
Exactly. But in 1937, a pound of India hemp, whatever swag, was 37 cents a pound. 37 cents a pound. Let's adjust for inflation in 100 years, and let's add $5 for 5 bonus points. The pound for a pound of weed should basically be a couple $100 bucks at most.
Well, we look at
right
it.
when you look at it, and that's
growing
where
cannabis on indoors in a pound, they roughly cost us $400 to $600. So on the outdoor scale,
and
it's basically you use an outdoor sun. It's water that comes from. Where? Well, from the res, because we're not charged water when you're outside in those type of platforms growing on huger fields. So I guess there's got to be some kind of a water tax. Of course there is. But
well, it's all got to come.
That's what we want to see. Is we want to see, and like you say, when if we start having these third world countries like Uruguay, like Jamaica, like all these places that start growing cannabis outdoors, the whole thing's going to change. Then we're selling it by the ton. We're harvesting by as far as you can see. So now the question is how do you
Saskatchewan became
football
relevant
fields
again.
of weed, right? Now how do you do this? Well, how? No, it goes into an extraction form.
Yes.
Because there's no space to dry this anymore. So this is harvested purely off the field's raw form, put into some type of method where it comes
like canning ships and
or anything
high
like
seas.
that. So that's going to be the future. That's what we're going to see. This is going to be a whole new level of an industry. And we see this happening now, and
Why aren't we doing that?
Everybody's here nodding their head, and that's exactly what we're going to start seeing. Columbine's huge. I've seen it in the hemp, and the industry is just turning that key with the new hemp regulations changing.
Yeah.
That's another change we got to talk about too. There's so many changes right now.
Yeah, it was
2017
huge, and Jared's got it coming up, and that's awesome. You brought that up because there's these big changes, and outdoor grown is the sun's above us.
Right.
Why are we going indoors? And then my biggest question is why do they have these licensed producers build $20-30 million facilities with the most epic safes underground, like worse than diamonds for cannabis and food. I know. It's just. I know. What's this platform with these places?
That's what you're buying when you invest in an LP. You're essentially buying their book debt and their infrastructure. And if it's Tilray, you're buying their name on stickers on absolutely every item.
Well, that's what they do that with everything.
But
their
brand
Organogram.
all their brands
doing
tarnished?
that.
Do people actually like their weed?
I have no idea. I
Meantime,
can't
make
speak for the public.
right?
On
I
that.
don't. It seems like pot smokers are too smart. Pot.
$25 million from the government to this.
So Neil's saying $25 million to governments. Neil should have a microphone.
Well, you know what?
How much are they actually selling? How
we
much
have-
are the LPs actually making? Like, are they selling a lot of this weed?
Well, you know what? Organogram just posed they did $1 million worth of sales and profit. That just came off in the stock market there the other day and stuff like that.
One had $1 million.
And we're seeing. Pardon me.
At higher than regular prices. They're charging the Veterans Affairs higher than their regular price.
So apparently the Veterans Affairs. Well, this is Veterans Affairs, but we don't know exactly the whole thing. But you know
Veteran
what?
Affairs,
That's
yeah.
a great thing, Neil, because they do it with OxyContin and other drugs. I'm covered by WCB for all my pharmaceutical drugs, and
no.
those
Give us an
prescription
angry
drugs
dragon,
were
Craig.
$1,500 a day. So you know what? If they want to inflate my prescription
nipple
by
behind
$10 and give me cannabis because I was injured, fuck yeah, I'll
Terrible.
shake that shit all day, right? So
Right
if they
on.
want to pay for it and inflate it and have that covered, 100%.
Well, they do that with every other medicine.
Exactly, that's what I was just saying, and they do that with everything, right? So I mean,
Exactly,
there's a tax grab.
yeah.
So if I start seeing cannabis covered by Workmen's Compensation Board for injured workers, and they're going to up it $10, make it $20 a gram, hey, at least the guy that needs it isn't paying for it.
Exactly.
And then this comes into a handling fee and a bottling fee, and then we get that access. That's what I'm fighting for, is access where we don't have to pay for our cannabis.
Well, that's it. It's got to go under the MSP. And,
That's the biggest thing, and that's where my Supreme Court challenge is with Workmen's Compensation Board, is have cannabis covered for seriously injured workers where we're not taxed for it. We're not, like, I've spent so much
the thing
money
is, once
growing my
provinces
own,
actually
why aren't they paying for it?
realize- Once provinces
Yeah.
actually realize that they can save money if they covered cannabis instead of all of the
the
other,
whole thing.
the amount of people that go to dispensaries with pharmaceutical prescriptions that they don't ever use, and they're going and paying for their own cannabis to treat themselves, is like
They're actually
once-
selling
once
those
the
pills so they
provincial
can buy their
formularies
cannabis
figure
or
that
other
out,
drugs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what's going to happen provincially in this province is, I think, anyone's guess at this stage.
Yeah.
You've got different groups jockeying, trying to get the ear of Christy Clark, and
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? You got, like, I know personally the head of the BC Public Service Union, and they're all over that, trying to push the message. You've got private alcohol lobbyists, pushing hard.
They
You've
opened
got
a liquor store across the street from an elementary school in my town where
Well,
I live. Across the street.
there you go.
There's
These
right-
are all these inconsistencies.
Right down the street from my house on Denman Street in Vancouver, there's a liquor store right across the street from
the-
school.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
library.
There's two right
there's
next to
like
it, one
a
right
pub
next to
there too, with the
And
patio,
a pub
right?
with patio. Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Well, listen, I
It's a
should
nice
probably
neighborhood.
I should probably get out of this chair here because there's a lot of other people in the room that have lots to share. But
No, you want you to talk. You just sit right there. You wanted that chair. You
Dun, 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 dun.
I guess I'm not going anywhere. All right.
He hasn't ate a bud yet.
What sugar relations should be on pot? Says
I
Neil
honestly-
Magnuson from the audience.
I'm too busy trying to
We need a
deal with the
meal can.
mess the government has made before I can even think about what they should be doing, in all honesty. But I like the free and fair market platform that the cannabis growers have been espousing and pushing for. I would like to see more room for people that have been in the industry for 40 years, that the experts actually, to have the ability to come to market.
The roots.
Exactly. I'd like to see less regulation, because more regulation just means that the government's making money, but the communities are not. And I think the dispensary movement, what I love about it, it's the biggest challenge to federal politics, because the money that's made locally doesn't necessarily go back to Ottawa. And the biggest, I think, threat that any citizen can be to a government is self-reliant. If you don't need what they're pushing or selling, then you don't need to be, taxed and,
Right.
and
So-
attached to their rules.
So to that effect, do you think that the best way, you were talking about this charter challenge, like, would that really be the most effective way for dispensaries themselves to, like, if the government starts to clamp down, decides that it's going to be, you have to get from local or from the LPs, or or something like that, will the growers themselves or other people, there's ways to challenge the constitutionality of these things.
For now, if the government pulls a knife, you sort of have to think of it as pulling a gun with respect to the counter argument. They haven't pulled anything yet.
Right.
So we don't need to respond.
Right.
As people say, well, why don't we sue the government? Yes, we're actually considering doing that with respect to an administrative constitutional challenge, where we can apply to see if we can get a declaratory injunction to declare that the city of Vancouver and the Board of Variance have been sucking and blowing, per se. That's something you can't do
Filled with innuendo.
under a Board of Variance judicial review because of the limited record point.
Yeah.
That's something we're looking at, because you're seeing more and more municipalities are using a bylaw, land use regulation, when technically they shouldn't have even been involved with this dispensaries. Well,
Right.
they've opened Pandora's box.
Yeah.
Thank you. And other
Yeah.
municipalities have followed. It's an
Which is good,
absolute mess
in a way,
at the
but-
moment in terms of what do you do if you're interested in getting into the industry.
Yeah.
Nothing's clear, and
Well, in Vancouver's not now.
It is. There's a clear path. You apply through the federal
government. You apply,
government,
but you're not necessarily going to make it through this process.
Well, in Vancouver now, there's no way to continue to apply for a license.
You can't apply for even LP license anymore.
No.
So what
everything's been cut. Everybody's been cut off. So now people are buying out people who are applying for LPs or people who are. So that's what and everybody's saying.
Somehow the government's going to try to save face.
Bidding on all these. On like fishing licenses.
It's not bidding on the real estate.
Exactly. That's what I mean. It's just like we see this way. We see them apply so many licenses. You see this in Vancouver. So many liquor licenses. So many fishing licenses. So many taxi licenses. This is this type of system we're seeing. We're only giving out this many, and you guys can fight over. You guys can start trading them back and forth. But Uber. This guy's got to be in the name, though.
Yeah, but they have to.
He's the one we were tracking.
They have to then fight us though, because we're just going to do it anyways, and they have to send the police after us.
They do.
And like in Toronto, they're starting to give out peace bonds or whatever they're doing and throwing cases out.
But you have to look at it this way: is that luckily we're not in Ontario. Our mayor has taken a different approach, which at least has allowed people to.
It wasn't luck. It was hard work.
Be pushing forward. Oh, Johnny needs something.
Sitting here with a crown, I was like, "Geez,
I'm gonna get out of here. I don't.
It's hard work here. We should be smoking something. Jerry isn't rolling anything.
I appreciate it, brother. Thanks,
Rob.
So much.
We love you. You should be rolling one, maybe.
No.
I'm sorry, you can't.
And let you sit over here.
He's like, I'll put you to work.
You were supposed to go to the bank machine for me. No,
was that?
Anyway, always a pleasure. And again, information about the city, information about City of Surrey. Get in contact with me. If you don't know how to find me, ask someone. They'll know how to find me. Thank you.
There you go. Thanks, brother,
Jamie,
man.
thanks for coming today.
Yeah, no problem.
Jamie,
and Jamie
Jamie should be in the hot seat now. We should put her up there.
Jamie does. Exactly. Jamie can slide in.
See what happens here? I just.
Here, I'm going to show off this bud one more time just before I hand it off to Courtney to roll.
Jared, do you have a guest beside you?
I do. Hi, Jamie. Let's see here. Look at that bud. Bam. All right, I'm passing that off to Courtney. And Jamie is now in this seat. That we actually call that the hot seat over here. This is actually the co-host seat.
So it's whatever.
It's fine. We can call it whatever you want today. Yeah.
It is warm. So it is actually a warm seat.
It is. Jamie, you've been doing this. You've been part of marijuana activism for a long time. Lately, you've been doing this stuff with the dispensaries and through the board of variance and like in the most like recent stuff. But you got started doing. I mean, tell us about how you got started. I mean, I know it's an interesting.
It's. And I put the documentary on hold because somebody basically ripped off the idea. So when I came back, I'd left Los Angeles in 2004. There were 0 dispensaries, and it didn't look like there were going to be any anytime soon. It's kind of funny to see how quickly it changed. But I came back up here, and I had been a member of the club for a long time. So
Jamie, you're going to have to repeat. We lost sound for a second.
Oh, hilarious. And I've just been moving like...
I know. You covered so much ground there.
I did.
Do we have our sound back now? I think we're back.
Yeah, long story short, I ended up at the club. We'll just do it like that.
That's how easy that was.
Very quickly, I was in Cam CD. Like a month or two later, I was vice president. And then like another few months after that, I was president. So that's sort of...
There you go. Yes. So that
sort of takes
that
us
was
up
hilarious.
to present day.
That's perfect. So and this, I mean, lately this board of variance thing, you guys have really been doing as much as you can to try and work this stuff out and paying really close attention to what passes and all these things. I mean, obviously getting the audio tapes, that seems like I should have thought of that myself. It seems like a no-brainer when you really think about it, because they have to follow some sort of. Are they really following a logic though? Does it? Does it seem to
that's the thing.
change?
They are in a way, but it really, each
Does it
case
depend
is
on
totally
like
different.
what they had for breakfast that day?
I think it absolutely does.
Yeah.
How long, how long their day has been. They work really hard hours, and they have a weird job, because as much as we were talking about, they have this little like set definition to their role. I like to go to a lot of the other variances to see what they normally do, and the last time they had a guy that wanted to have an office in his artist work-live studio, and it was zoned as an artist live-work studio, and he was an interior designer, and he wasn't allowed to have an office. And so they were debating whether interior design was art and whether he should be considered an artist if he had his office in the...
Oh my goodness.
And they had just finished a 45-minute discussion about a particular tree, and they had basically said this one tree can go, this other tree's got to stay, and then go ahead and build your deck that way. So,
oh my God,
it's
this is
a bizarre experience. It's a little Kafkaesque at times, but it's
Wow, this is the bureaucracy that makes a city run.
Well,
that's it exactly.
Single-handedly deciding which trees come and go, I guess.
That's what
and then
bylaws are
somebody
about.
did
You have to
that for
apply
every
to cut down a
house.
tree. Like, for instance, I went to my neighbor. We had a chat about a tree. There's a bylaw thing there. We actually shook our hands. I pulled out a rope. He cut it down, pulled it over. It's on face. And you know what? But legally, I would have to go and get certain things over if it's over a certain diameter or a certain height, you have to bring in services and stuff like that. And then if you don't, then your neighbor can sue you. The bylaw officer comes in because you're 3 feet over on his property. Oh, it's just like... That's what bylaw officers are for. They're not for setting up these laws, that's for sure.
People, I'm turning my phone off.
I agree.
Won't stop.
Chair?
Yeah.
That's only rang once, really?
Yeah.
I think normally goes off solid. I think he just turned it on by accident. He's like,
yeah, I know. And
roll one, good for you.
As libertarian as I am, and I think that not a lot of regulations would be good, those kinds of things. But I wonder about how do those decisions get made? This is another conversation we should have later, Caleb. But I sometimes the mechanics that are behind the scenes of some of these things are pretty intricate, more intricate than you would think sometimes, I guess. But.
That's with any kind of community or anything. They want to set a certain standard. You can't have an 8-foot fence or a 10-foot fence in front of your house where no one can see you. It's got to be can't be any higher than 4 feet. Your side fence has to be 6. Your 8 can be 8.
Unless
That's
your
it.
elevation
And that's your elevation. And this is in any community all across Canada. They have these regulations set into place for some type of a standard kind of structured concept. That's what we should believe. And I always go, sheep. Yeah. They want you to be sheep. To listen to what they want you to do. Buy this, buy that, go to Walmart.
I don't really believe that they should, this is another conversation.
Not getting into that right now. Right now, you need to pass that joint. Rob just came in. He's just laughing.
Yes. I do have a video to play, too. I wanted to play.
There you go. We need a video.
We need a video.
How long is
it?
This
video
is
for so long.
This is a video of... Well, actually, we were talking about the hemp regulations. Now, I haven't really...
We haven't gone into the hemp regulations.
We haven't, and I don't... To be honest, I don't know what is good and bad about the hemp regulations at this point. And I want to...
You know what? It's good. Because right now, they don't have to keep testing all the time.
Yeah.
They have a certain amount of strains they're allowed to purchase and grow from, because I was dealing with this years ago with a few friends of ours.
And you don't have to test for THC.
Well, no, because they only have certain varieties they're allowed to grow. Those varieties they don't have to test for.
Yeah.
But do you still need like a 10-year apprenticeship to grow?
Yeah,
like the hemp regulations in Canada were so restrictive that they were nearly impossible to become part of the system. I've had people from various things on the show before, and David Malmo-Levine always speaks about this issue. But yeah, there's other places where hemp is really allowed to be produced, and even look at what Ben Dronkers does in Amsterdam there, and he makes the interiors for vehicles.
Yeah, well, Germany's been making the bodies of the vehicles out of hemp plastics for quite a long time as well.
The joint.
We have a picture in the hallway over there of Henry Ford.
Thank you very much.
Smashing
yeah, he wanted to do the whole thing in Brazil, oddly enough, where we've started exporting cannabis to, apparently.
Yeah,
as
Brazil.
Of a couple of days ago.
Yeah, that's...
We're exporting... Really? Nice.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, there's such a roadblock in place right now with the U.S. federal government that when that finally moves, it's going to be insane. Because you're talking about California, a market that is the size of us as a nation. You know, they've got a lot of industry already. A lot of sunshine, a lot of agriculture. You know, I don't know. They just keep taking the water from everywhere else, including from here.
Yeah,
so.
And our energy.
Hey, we gave them our water years ago for free.
Yeah.
We shipped that shit down there all day long. Now we buy it back. Hey.
Yeah. No, they're gonna suck everybody dry in every way, I suppose. But
well, the whole thing.
I don't know. I think we all can produce. If everybody's allowed to produce, then we'll have no problems.
Well, that's the thing. Once the U.S. government kind of moves, then they can't keep telling other countries that they can't do it, and more will. And once that happens, you know, it's going to be like everything else. And like Rob mentioned earlier, it's like, where can you grow the cheapest cannabis? Beyond that, it's going to be like luxury strains, or, you know, there'll still be connoisseur scale cannabis. There'll still be connoisseur scale growing and markets and things like that. BC's going to have an industry for sure. You know, so Northern California
and all these other places around.
But it's a brand in a way, like Jamaica, right?
Yeah, going down the industry. Yeah. And going to, the industry's there already. It's just lurking in the shadows.
Well, I mean, I'm talking branding right now, not so much the industry itself. But I mean, obviously, I mean, and that's the whole thing about, you know, the regulations can't be too far off of what we want, because if that happens, they're not going to be effective at doing what they said they wanted to do, was to get rid of the black market. And as long as it's inconvenient, as long as it's expensive, as long as it's making people jump through other hoops, then that's still going to exist, and whatever they put in place isn't
really.
You have to let them in. You have to.
I truly believe that
if
we continue to fight and we don't close and we stay open, that they will eventually build the model around us. Because they will have to.
They'll have to. And again, it's not just stores. It's the innovation that comes from the side products, that comes from the concentrates, and all of the other things that
people want.
Exactly.
That need is what we need. It's what makes us function. And that's the biggest thing about the market, is how they've allowed flowers in there, but the concentrates that truly help the patients is still sitting in the background. We don't know what they're doing with. So that's where that market's going to sit on our end for the next probably 3 to 5 years until they start making some kind of headway. Even though we've won in court, still the LPs are only just extracting with olive oil and giving you some kind of little drop.
And they're only allowed a certain amount.
And they're only allowed a certain amount, so those laws are already set in place. So I mean, for me, look, I got rosin sitting right there, and that's completely legal through Health Canada because I squished it with a hot iron. Woo-hoo! Hair straightener means I'm allowed to do that shit all day long. I mean,
you love squishing.
So I mean, of course I do, but I mean that's working for a lot of the patients. We see that with the distillates, we see that with the concentrates, the shadows, the butters, everything that we see in these platforms, edibles, and all the edibles. How are they made? Infused with, of course, extracts. Edibles aren't made with just they're just buds in there and grind it up and make it green. I mean that's what we're supposed to do, but the edibles made today are made with all distillates, and they are just on par, and they're so tasty because you can't taste it. So, and at that point, I mean, we're also getting standardization because a lot of these edibles are being made with the same consistency, with the same THC levels.
Well, that's what we need. That's what we need for regulation.
Exactly, we need standardization.
Yeah.
And hopefully they'll get it one day, but until such time, we're going to continue doing what we're doing, and by the time they catch up, we'll just have the market.
Yeah.
Well, we do.
We already do.
Yes, exactly. That's.
So,
I don't know. I sometimes wonder about. There's this whole issue of testing and that whole side of it, and though I like being able to offer those services for people, and I think it's important. Customers probably want those things. Amsterdam has been there for how long? They haven't been testing. They have been. There's no bodies piling up. There's no real issues there.
Well, and this is their approach was sort of kind of ignore it, right, and just pretend they didn't really see it.
Right.
But what that effectively did was you had to be passionate about it to be involved, and if you're passionate about it, you weren't going to be, putting contaminants on your product. You weren't going to be treating it badly.
Right.
It's once you actually really incentivize a profit of some sort, that's when you need consumer regulations in place, some sort of consumer protection, and that's all.
But that
is
true.
I
do agree with that. Yeah, sure.
I can't catch it. I was trying to throw him with joint.
Yeah.
But I mean, the testing also can lead to things that are ultimately going to be good. I mean, I can't wait to see full profiles with all the different terpenes from different
the whole
strains.
thing is you need that with certain conditions. We need that, and it's imperative with someone like Haley Rose. Like, if she gets the wrong strain, she sees as you get other people, they get the wrong thing. Anxiety goes through the roof.
Right. Okay.
Exactly. Well, that's what I was going to speak to.
But we see that in clubs.
So
and
some people like
just being
Marijuana
to
Man.
fine tune it even more. Yeah.
People like Greg Williams, Marijuana Man, have sort of said for a while that he doesn't really trust the testing itself, based on the fact that when you test something using a gas chromatograph, you're taking a sample of a bud from a grow room somewhere. So the bud that's sitting right next to it might be different than the bud that's further away. Even on the same plant might be different.
That's the thing. Even with the terpenes now,
there's
they're
no
finding out that the
consistency
light
in testing.
makes a big difference, and
that is an
issue
that's
for sure.
one thing I've seen with my testing and stuff like that. When
So is there accurate testing for real? Can you actually test, or is that just like kind of to appease
You're looking for a
the
profile.
government?
You're only looking at profile. The testing house comes down to a profile over and over and over, and Paul's been saying it for years. We're looking at the profile, the cannabinoid profile. That profile is what we look at, how it helps conditions. It's not the levels of the THC, it's the profile. So we see the CBD THC pro. Is it a 3-to-1, 5-to-1? Is it a 6-to-1? Is this attached to that profile? Is that profile helping this condition? So testing is very much imperative to find out, because now we know how terpenes, like with me, regulate pain. I mean, from surgery with me.
Even if you have,
the profiles
how do you know what you're actually getting if you?
Terpene
I'm
in
not
a
sure that
cannabis
still
strain
makes
that's
sense
normally
anyways, but
common.
Well, if you have someone who have epilepsy, and this profile with CBD THC level works for them, and you take that CBD out, guess what? They're gonna. There's certain ways that we're looking at when it comes to a standardized medicine. Like for me, I dealt with a lot of pain. I needed something that was standardized for that pain control. Hence, that's why I'm so much about standardization.
It's too bad there's not an easier way to test, and people that needed to test it could test it.
Well, that's why there's labs set into place for someone like myself who's legal through a system. I can now use a system to test, which should be for everybody. But I mean, at the same time, I mean, I blatantly called and asked, I mean, with the new legal system, am I allowed to use a test at a credible lab through Health Canada? As a legal grower, yes, I can. That's important.
Yep. Yeah. No, it is for sure. And the market's trying to move towards some sort of like the MyDX and some sort of like self-testing. I know there's one that does like a pH strip kind of thing, so that you can kind of do some testing.
You can get the small MDX. They're $500, and they're hooked up with Steve Hill Labs, and they have all the profiles. It takes basically analyzing gets the closest to this profile and gives you a rough estimate, and that's all you really need.
It's just
we're looking for a profile. Once again, profile.
Right, exactly.
Profile
Generalized profiles.
So it's needed when you're dealing with any kind of a condition, anxiety, stress, whatever. That profile is key, because sometimes for me,
it's better than just calling it indica or sativa.
Exactly. Why don't you give it a name? Just give it a SKU number. That's what I say. SKU it.
That's funny. All right, well, we're going to play this video right now here. Let's throw this one on. This is Jody Emory on CTV. And I'm going to press play here. Let's see if this is working. It says Skype, but I don't think that's, maybe I put it here. There it is. There it is for ladies and gents out there. Enjoy. Press play.
Final report to the government. Canada's task force on regulation and legalization is set to deliver its final report to the government today. The delivery of the report will be a major step towards Prime Minister Trudeau fulfilling his promise to legalize marijuana. Jody Emory is a political activist and the owner of Cannabis Culture. She joins me this morning from our downtown Toronto studio. Good morning, Jody. What do you expect to be in this report?
I respect a new style of prohibition with strict regulations to limit and reduce the access to marijuana. And that's all the messaging that we've heard from this government. We haven't had a lot of details about how they intend to address the criminalization of Canadians who get arrested every day for marijuana. We haven't heard anything about the opportunities for Canadians to have jobs with retail, farming, agriculture, medicine, research, tourism. We haven't heard anything about the benefits that legalization can provide. All of the messaging has been similar to the Harper government about the kids, about gangs, and about fear-mongering, really.
So you sound disappointed before the report has even been made public.
I am disappointed because the Health Canada licensed producers have made no secret that they've lobbied this government, they've met with Bill Blair, they've told the government they want to control this recreational market. The industry already exists. That's why dispensaries are so popular. Public supply and demand, market economics come into play, and people have access to marijuana already. But the government's messaging, including Christy Clark talking about fentanyl in weed, which was proven false by the police. All of this messaging is about keeping the dispensary industry and the existing industry illegal and allowing the new licensed producers to control the market. We also have to remember that Anne McMillan, in charge of this task force, represents the law firm who is representing a lot of these licensed producers. So we're seeing a lot of people angling to make sure that they profit and benefit, but we aren't talking about the criminalization of millions of Canadians. We aren't talking about the economic opportunities. We aren't talking about ending the arrests, which U.S. states did when they had people vote to legalize marijuana.
Okay, so next steps for the government to continue to move forward on this issue are?
Well, the government needs to start being open and honest about legalization. All of their talks have been kept secret. Even the meetings that they had during the task force sessions were kept secret. They haven't even told people that they're going to stop arrests at all. They aren't even considering reducing records. Remember that everyone who gets arrested for marijuana becomes a second-class citizen. They lose their job, their right to travel, scholarships, the ability to volunteer. They're actually criminalized by this government, even though they're peaceful, honest people. So this government's message has all been very prohibitionist style and also very much in favor of promoting the licensed producers authorized by Health Canada. In April, the government should be talking more about this because that's when Canadians expect it to be legalized. But I'm sorry to say that for a couple more years, it looks like arrests will continue. The status quo stays the same. The police continue to benefit from the budgets that they receive. And the people continue to suffer the loss of millions of dollars in enforcement and the loss of their civil liberties when they're arrested every day for marijuana possession.
Jody Emory, thanks for your time on this morning. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
We're back. There you are. So, there's Neil. Neil's.
We're back.
His torso. That's Neil's torso.
Everybody kind of like swooped in.
Everybody knows Neil's torso.
Okay, go back.
Hey, there's Rob.
There's Rob.
Look at that. That's a good angle. I like that angle. Oh, no, he ran away after. Look at
what happened there?
Oh, I lost my bag over there. Little green bag.
Well.
Yeah, what happened with them? The charges were dropped. Oh,
Cool.
yeah. So they're celebrating in Edmonton tonight.
Oh, they're celebrating in Edmonton tonight. The charges were dropped.
I know where I want to be tonight.
Yeah, really. Aaron will.
So.
Yeah. That was a fine thing. They
Here, wait. Let's get it. Oh, there he is. He's too. I think Rob's on mushrooms. Yeah. Look at there he goes. Look at that handsome guy. I love the wink. Beautiful.
I'm just sitting down here enjoying the co-chair's seat.
Did you eat one of those buds?
No.
Is that what happened here?
I need some water, actually.
I think you just keep kind of moving
Falling
yours
apart
around.
over there.
Anyway,
we haven't had a green out on Pod TV in a while, so.
This is not a green out.
Well, we can't because there's smoke or ain't anything. So.
I'm dehydrated. I have a child at home that's kept me up.
I was gonna say congratulations, Rob.
Actually, thank you. Yeah.
You know what? This is Dad right
Daddy.
here. And Dad, beautiful.
We're very proud. It's been a good month. Amazing month.
Mm-hmm.
So Rob's the dad.
Everyone, it's gonna get much harder.
Oh yeah.
Really? Yeah, I don't have kids yet either.
It's give it time, John.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
You've got a nice one. Pretend I'm not here.
Okay.
Oh
Back
man.
to you, Jared.
So funny. Anyways, I don't really have a heck of a lot more to do on this show today. To be
What do you
honest.
mean?
Because
we haven't dabbed
I gotta-
enough. You mean we
I
haven't
gotta go
smoked
do my
enough
parking.
weed? Yeah, your parking really?
Yeah,
I
can do
pay
it on
all
my
day,
phone.
and I love the pay
I bet I
all
already
day
got a ticket,
because you
though.
come and go.
I took a photo of the
Transit.
parking meter so I could see what number is on it.
Oh, don't you have the app on your phone?
61588. There you go. I gotta do it right now here on the air.
So this is pay if you phone. So let me show you. So on my phone.
Yeah, this is how easy it is to do parking in Vancouver. You just put it in. You say 2 hours. Bam, continue.
You just got
and just went to town. There you go. Yeah.
I've learned to pay at the one lot, and then you pay for the day. It's like $13. You can come and go. It's kind of like your own parking lot.
Yeah, you got to watch those though, because sometimes they're tricky with the come and go.
Yeah, but I can still come and go. It doesn't say you can't come and go. It's so tricky. Neil's in the house.
Some of them are tricky.
I don't know if this is on. Is this on yet?
We're in the middle
Unlike
of
some of your other
video.
guests, I do have a solid opinion on how things should be regulated here.
What?
I think that regulations should happen when there's problems that arise, and there should be reasonable ways to address those problems that really try to balance the rights of people to not be interfered with by their governments unless they're harming other people. And cannabis doesn't deserve hardly any regulations to it because there's very little harm that ever arises from it. Some cautionary advice on some of the labeling might be in order, and in the case of edibles, ingredients.
Here's something that they said.
Maybe some
biggest thing, and when you're saying about this, it came up with the news this morning because I love about the thing, and they were talking about how all food has to come with a label on it what comes in it, because if you didn't, people put plastic in there and all kinds of shit.
I've never seen a label like that on my tomatoes. Never seen it on the carrots that I buy or the celery or anything that I buy that's similar to cannabis, which is a plant that grows and it's just like a vegetable.
Neil's a great talk. He's right on fire.
I agree.
Tomatoes
they tell you to make sure you wash those.
You want to pass those chips
over? You want to do that
wash them, but do you need the government to tell you to wash them, or do you just need some public information, put it out there, government service announcement. Wash your tomatoes. We've had some issues with people getting sick because of tomatoes that weren't washed. If they don't have issues with people getting sick because of unwashed tomatoes,
it's the pesticides.
then,
it's not the tomatoes.
we don't need
the point is, it's not the tomatoes at all. It's what somebody put on the tomatoes to make it grow better.
Exactly, because tomatoes aren't. Well, you can overdose on tomatoes, and if people were eating way too many tomatoes,
you can drink too much
the
water.
thing to do was to get together with your friends and eat tomatoes until you're blue in the face. People were dying, because you can die of an overdose of tomatoes and potatoes and most of those other things.
All you have to do is make a cup of tea out of tomato leaves.
I could probably potentially die of an overdose of potato chips.
Is putting pesticides on cannabis a big problem in the black market?
The whole
what?
No,
where's the poster child?
Wait. What'd you say?
Is putting pesticide on cannabis in the black market, is that a big problem? Is that something that we've traditionally had a big problem with?
Hospital rooms full of these people, aren't there? Wards full of these people.
So here's the thing.
I know, and that's the
I work.
So I was just gonna, the point is to stop one bad apple from doing that. Has somebody done that? Yes. We've had at least one case of fentanyl being found in cannabis. The police then said,
fuck.
It happened a lot, and then they came out and said, no, we've never.
Where was this case?
Well, it was downtown East Side, and Calgary was
fentanyl in marijuana.
But and this is something that we've talked about.
Someone really wanted to get high, so it's kind of like Neil's getting really close.
Because
I got the answer to this.
Neil's getting
trying
close.
to answer your question, but
hey,
I'm
keep it down over there.
No, I've given up at this point.
No, pesticides. Come on.
No.
That's what I was trying to get to.
Let her finish what she was saying.
The point is, in a capitalist society, there are going to be people that are going to try and profit, and they will cheat corners. So it's like, is it a profit in the black market? No, not at all. Especially not when you've got so many options, because you've got choice. Was there a problem way back when you would maybe buy from a guy in an alleyway and never see him again? There could be, right? And that may still happen.
But aren't you speaking exactly to the reason why? So the fact that
that's exactly why
when we legalize
what's
it,
existing. Exactly.
Right? No. But what you're saying is, if there's not a problem with the black market now because people know where they're getting their pot from, and there's a lot of it around, what we're hoping that the legal market will be exactly that. The legal market will be one that you know where you're getting it from, and there'll be lots of availability everywhere. So essentially, wouldn't that be the same concept then? I mean, it
is, but it takes a while to find out if people are doing that. I mean, that's where we end up with laws, right? Somebody does it once. We did have a case a while ago where somebody was taking THC spray and spraying it on bud and selling it. It didn't take too long for people to start figuring it out, but they had been selling it for a while. It took a couple.
What are you doing over there, Johnny?
And kind of going, oh, hey, wait a minute.
Hello.
And it stopped. Of course, it stopped, but it took time. Right,
yeah.
And in the meantime, there were people that were smoking that, and
I'm not
against
testing.
Studies on it that it's bad for you, but
I'm not against testing. I'm just against the idea of forcing people to do it. I like.
If you want to sell it, I think that should be the only.
But that's what I mean. Even in that sense, I've been selling pot for a long time, and I've never had it tested, and I don't think that it's done anybody any harm.
Well, that's the other thing where you get into things like organic, right, and which also get twisted out of
that's
all
a bunch
proportion.
of bullshit.
Because the ideal is that you're just growing it yourself. You know what's in it, and your friends trust you to know that you knew what was in it, right? But when you start getting on a bigger scale than that,
yeah, I guess. I'm with you. I guess I'm having trouble migrating to the new.
My understanding is that even if you don't have access to good cannabis and you've been smoking swag weed, you've been smoking weed, you've been pulling out of dumpsters, the trim and shit, who knows? But that
weed
you
with
could
fentanyl.
end up with some chronic bronchitis later in life. That was pretty much the result of that. There wasn't other issues, and so it isn't a problem. It's a problem they're creating so that they can have a solution that involves some sort of enforcement that they can then tax us for.
Who's creating
bureaucracy?
No, we know that you might spray pesticides on the plant. Somebody's probably doing that somewhere. So that's not an unreasonable thing to want to have tested for. I think that's reasonable in a way. But for THC testing and all that other stuff, that's a bunch of nobody should have to have their weed tested for THC. That's ridiculous.
No, there should be medical places that
have
all those answers for those people.
If it's a
want
legal
it.
system and you're growing for others,
or any other active ingredient, you shouldn't have to have it tested for that. That's if you want to have it tested, because
if you want to sell anything on the market,
pesticide,
they want you to know what's in it.
A pesticide or other chemicals that might hurt you, I can understand why that might be something that would be fair to appear somewhere in a regulation at some point. But I don't know.
But that's about all there should be. That's the whole point. There should be protections in place to protect consumers. And
okay. So the fentanyl one, for instance. Well, how much pot? Like if you're buying 20 pounds of pot, they didn't spray 20 pounds of weed with fentanyl.
Well, that's just it. And
what are you going to do? Test every little piece along the 20 pounds? Like it doesn't. There's no way to accurately, consistently test for marijuana in any regard.
Insight has started actually testing for fentanyl in cannabis. If you go into Insight
on an individual level,
yes, because it's only ever
but for a business,
some guy might spray something on some little bag that he gives some person, but it's not ever going to be in what Jeremiah's talking about.
How is Insight? Wait, back this up. How is Insight testing for fentanyl on cannabis?
Yeah, they've got a program where you can bring in your cannabis and they will test it for fentanyl. Yeah, I'm not sure what the process is, but they announced it, I think, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, something like that. Wow. Because, again, they know that's the only issue, and it's that community that's at risk. It's not, they're not targeting pot smokers,
Well, I'll be interested to see the statistics of how many times they test and how much fentanyl they find.
Yeah.
It'd be all over the news if they found fentanyl in a test because that's run by the BCNU, right?
So, especially after
there are
Christy
nurses
Clark.
and stuff like that. Yeah. So it's interesting to say because even legally,
don't take away my Fenties. I love smoking Fenties.
Because this is why I find it interesting is because they're not allowed to touch a Schedule II. They're actually not allowed to accept that.
Yeah.
With the law of supply and demand, is there a lot of demand out there for fentanyl on your weed?
They're also very similar to a lot of dispensaries in that they are breaking laws that they believe are unjust in the name of public health.
He said on weed.
It's still sponsored by the BCNU.
Can you get some of that weed that's got some fentanyl on it for me?
Yeah, that's Fenties, man.
Sort of but there's also, the city itself, their own position has been very similar to this as well.
Like to me, it's just like Insight's testing for weed that has fentanyl in it. I just call bullshit.
Well, how?
That's all I'm saying.
Why? How do they not?
Well, it's just because why? It's because A for one, as in through the BCNU and through nurses, they're not allowed to touch a product. You can't give them weed.
Isn't fentanyl extremely small?
Yeah, in weed.
So wouldn't you have to combust the entire sample of it to test for fentanyl accurately?
I don't know what type of testing they're using.
It's not like
it's gas or light or, I have no idea.
Isn't
sounds like a waste of money.
Yeah,
isn't fentanyl
patches,
a liquid
if they're
that's
providing
really
a
small?
service, parent, so it's,
some more in favor or another.
Yeah, we'll see if there's anything that comes out of it.
I just know, what, did they just put a machine on it? I'm just curious, just to say it's called bullshit. That's why when you said that, I was like,
shouldn't they wait until there's actually been a case of somebody dying from weed, laced with fentanyl?
You have to put it into a gas chromatography to test to see and look for the peak to see if it was something else other than THC or the other cannabinoids that are in cannabis, and then determine the peak what it was to determine if it was fentanyl or not. Just saying.
Okay, I like phenthols. Professor Weed in the chat. Yeah, phenthols. They're smoking phenthols.
Fentanyl.
That's good.
If there's a demand for it, there
But
will be a
can
supply.
you? Okay, is fentanyl usually smoked?
It can be. I
It
mean,
can be.
What we've been hearing right now is
comes
that
in a pouch and they
fentanyl,
cut.
when it's getting laced into like everything, right? And so there's a lot more cases of
It's
cocaine.
past the
being
fentanyl
laced with it,
stage. It's
heroin
called
being
something
laced with
else.
it. Well, there's carfentanil also, which is a separate, substance that's very similar.
One 800 times more potent than fentanyl. That's what's killing
and
everybody on the east side right
this
now.
shows you what a lot of the problems are. In Manitoba, a bunch of doctors figured out how to make a prevent overdose kit for fentanyl, and they made it really key. It was a little kit. They made it really cheap and easily available, and the College of Physician and Surgeons came in and went, "Nope, you can't do that.
Why?
It's against their rules."
This doesn't
and
have a
fentanyl is
regulation
an
body
illegal
on it.
drug.
Doesn't have an
my
RX number
God.
behind
Right,
it.
and so you have
That's-
this disconnect between these doctors and people on the ground that are trying to do good things, and the government up there that doesn't really know what they're talking about. And this isn't even an official arm of the government. Really, it's a regulatory body, right? And so
Right.
the disconnect's already there, and then the regulatory body is the one that talks to government. So every little voice that they're getting is already past that chasm of understanding, Yeah.
So now, when they find that a bottle of Coca-Cola has been laced with fentanyl, will they make all Coca-Cola be tested for fentanyl? I guess.
Of course not.
Enoch wants to know where you can get Coca-Cola laced fentanyl.
I think it's called Jolt.
Yeah.
It's called Jolt, apparently.
Yeah. I wonder. Well.
Red Bull.
Yeah, Red Bull. Yes.
Well, and that's
Fent
an
Bull.
interesting thing. I mean, there's been a lot of studies recently about energy drinks harming the adolescent brain.
They might
And
Holy
put
shit.
impairing
some kind of
driving.
drug in there.
I thought all kinds of people had heart
five of
attacks.
those Red
Still
Bulls and I
fine
didn't
for
sleep
sale
for
at
3
gas
days.
stations, right?
I want a Red Bull now.
Yeah, we're gonna have to change the spots.
Yeah, let's do it.
It's like hooking yourself up to a car battery. It's just as safe. Thanks, Jamie, for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for
Appreciate that. Always a pleasure, and always the always knowledgeable Jamie Shaw.
Thanks, Jamie. You're awesome.
She knows just about everything about cannabis. And Neil Magnuson too. Don't forget
Neil.
old Neil there, wearing his '70s BioCup shirt. Looks like he stepped out of a '70s yearbook.
I think someone's stepping in the next hot
Yeah.
seat.
That was the first BioCup back in 70.
Nice. Yeah, the first BioCup, 1976. Yeah. Oh, J-Mac on the mic.
What the fuck?
You got a freestyle for us?
Is it on?
Maybe not.
Testing. Oh, here you go. Hi, guys. What's up?
What's up, J-Mac? So J-Mac's going to be doing some work for us on Pod TV to make our shows available on iTunes. J-Mac's going to be our podcast editor.
And I start today after the show.
You do.
I start today after the show.
You doing iPhones?
We're going to be. All of our shows will be available on the iTunes platform, so that means you'll be able to download all of our shows as a podcast on iTunes in video and audio form. Yeah, thanks, Jamie.
Bye, Jamie. Jamie's out of here. Hey, you know, I'm just sitting here thinking as I'm hitting this beautiful hippo pipe.
What's that?
Hippo's having a 20th anniversary, 20 years of blowing glass at Born Beyond tomorrow. That just came up on my Facebook page, and I got this beautiful hippo piece, and I'm just shouting out to Hippo.
There you go.
Jesse, 20 years of being a glass blower. Fuck yeah, I'm happy to be able to own one of these beautiful pieces and be able to dab the shit out of you because you haven't got high enough yet. So I've been sitting here watching. I've been sitting here paying attention. And really, in reality, it's like, are you kidding me?
Reality sucks.
You haven't dabbed enough.
You're right, I know.
No, you haven't.
And A for one, I'm not
high.
going to burn your ass. So any of you guys counting down?
You need to get high. You just need to get high.
On 3.
3, 2,
Okay.
1. Inhale.
This is
suck,
just
suck,
like,
you
I
have
got to
suck
give
some
Jared,
more.
this is some rosin. So what
Suck,
this was,
suck, suck,
in
suck,
reality,
suck. Blow.
was...
Good
I think I already explained it.
Oh. No.
Hey, Johnny B, may I ask, what are you dabbing it Gemini with right now?
Rosin.
Rosin. Of what strain?
I don't know. It's a bunch of sift that's mixed together. We put into the Sasquatch the week and a half ago. I squish it too quick, and then I'll ooze some plant matter into it. So then I re-squish it this morning, and it's like 3 different flavors. What do you think, Jared? I feel.
Can I get fucked up?
Huh? You see, you should know, Jay.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good.
I've been waiting to
Thank
do
you.
a Dow some kind of next.
That's very good. Huh. So, J-Mac.
Someone see through if you pull on.
Yes.
What's new in Surrey?
You live in Surrey, J-Mac?
I live in Surrey.
Sorry about that.
And Surrey sucks big time balls. Like, seriously, it sucks.
That's why you love living there.
No.
We have Cindy in the house, too. I think we're going to get Cindy up here next, too.
Basically,
we have Ashley in the house. We're going to Ashley.
Basically, right now,
Ashley, former Pop Studio star.
I sleep in Surrey and I live in Vancouver.
You sleep in the bus station in Surrey?
No, I sleep in the house. And then I wake up at like 7, 8 in the morning. I leave at like 9, 10, and I get in Vancouver. And I'm in Vancouver until like midnight, and I go home, sleep, wake up next day, back to Vancouver by like 10. So.
Now we know your whole schedule.
And well, Saturday and Sunday are my days at home. I just sleep all day, so I really sleep all day on Saturday and Sunday, so I don't care.
So that's J-Mac's schedule. He sleeps and does at bus
now
stations.
you know. And knowing is half the battle.
I'm doing a little bit of terp dipping right now, actually.
So
Jamaican
we're going to wrap
terpenes.
this show up, ladies and gents. That was a really nice dab. Thanks, Johnny boy.
You're welcome. My dab's next, coming up.
So next Friday, wait, what's the date? I don't even know what date it is.
It's December 2nd.
So next Friday I'll still be here in Vancouver. So never mind. But the Friday after that, I'll be in Montreal.
One thing to say, for all those who are curious with records and world records, Vancouver, as of today at 12 noon today, Pacific time, we now have the world record for the longest automated unmanned rail network in the world.
Unmanned what network?
Unmanned transit system.
Really?
With
SkyTrain?
Yep, because today
it's the oldest one?
The longest unmanned rail.
Well, that means it's the oldest, doesn't it?
No.
Nope. Longest.
Oh, longest in length.
Longest in length.
Oh, sorry, I thought you meant longest running.
Longest unmanned automated
longest in length.
In the world. In the world.
Because they now go to
with the opening of the
Where does it go?
extension.
Oh, it goes to
of
Poco
the
now.
Evergreen line that goes all
Is
the
it
way
fully functional to Poco now?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh shit!
As of noon today.
Oh damn!
Did you go
They're
for
trying
drive?
to close
Did you
our
go?
Poco.
Did you go? Did you get on it? Did you go? Did you?
Shut
Did
up. Listen. I'm going to tomorrow.
That looked good. I was like
I'm
watching
going
you
to
eat that.
tomorrow. I'm going to ride the entire
I know, me too.
system.
That looks so
Canada line,
so tasty.
Expo line, Marine line, and the new Evergreen line.
It's awesome, J-Mac.
J-Mac just rides the train. He's like the ghost of the subway.
Well, I basically get a free
Subway
pass
ghost.
to the government's right train. So
When you're on the subway, when you're on the Sky Train, just think of J-Mac. Close your eyes. You'll
and you guys
hear him in the background.
It's on my train.
Hot box train.
If you guys see smoke
We need our own train.
My train.
The weed train.
This
And I
here,
like riding the
this
420
line
train.
goes right up the center, like this.
Someone chilling like a villain wrote, "I wish I voted for J-Mac instead of Trump."
Yeah, thank you, chilling villain.
J-Mac president coming up.
My platform is free weed for all this need. I guarantee to lower prices on tobacco and increase prices on alcohol.
J-Mac's
alcohol
platform.
Facts,
Pineapple
and
God.
free weed for everybody. Free weed for all. Free weed for all.
Free weed for all. You'd get elected on that pretty quickly.
All that weed right there is for all you
That's
guys
pineapple
watching.
God.
It's a bag of weed.
Can I get a handful of that stuff, Jimmy?
Yeah, this stuff's nice. This one you can really. Can you smell the God bud in that?
I was doing this perfect
It smells really good.
Look at that. See
It
how nice
smells
that
like
is?
God bud. You can.
It just smells like some pineapple gum.
Yeah.
Mark's favorite candy used to be
That blue Mataro is
Or was
ridiculous.
it?
It's so sweet.
Used to like the
There's only
purple
one
pine
strain.
berry. I remember Mark used to always talk about the purple pine berry. Purple pine berry. It only comes in once in a year. It comes from the purple pine berry area of Tuxedo Island.
I heard about the strain.
Did you?
I heard that it's very high in CBNs and CBDs and CBAs and CBGs.
Proof God
All
point.
the CBs.
Don't do
That
it,
Mataro Blue is really sweet. It smells like candy. And there's only one strain that I've ever smelled sweeter than that, and that's that Stella Blue. They're similar. They must be cousins or something.
Stella.
But you can find both of these strains right now at our Cannabis Culture Dispensary on Davie Street,
Oh my God,
1674 Davie Street in Vancouver.
There you go. J-Mac.
Good
Wow,
prices.
this stuff is really good. This stuff is really, really well.
Yeah, it is.
It smells earthy. It smells like a really, 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 really tasty,
It's so sweet.
fruity. Like,
It smells like Rockets candy.
Well, what do you say?
It does.
Little Rockets
It
at
does.
Halloween. You know?
It does.
Yeah.
It really does. It really, really does.
Did we covered everything today?
I think we did.
We covered candy.
We didn't get Cindy up here.
The train system.
All right, we're going to wrap it up. All right,
Are we
Pot
wrapping
TV,
it?
we'll be back next week, and you can find all kinds of fun stuff at pot.tv,
Cannabis Culture.
CannabisCulture.com,
And iTunes.
CannabisCultureHQ.com, CannabisCultureDispensary.com,
And iTunes.
soon to be CannabisCultureLounge.com,
CannabisCultureWorld.com.
Cannabis Culture World.
Just saying.
Da-da-da.
Hey, and don't forget to check
And
out iTunes.
so right now, okay, wait a second.
iTunes.
We were talking earlier, we just opened 2 new stores in the past 4 days. So we have more Toronto stores now. I think, what are we up to now? 13
We're
stores?
I have no
14 stores.
13 or 14
14
stores?
stores. including
So, and
the
then
dispensary.
we have major plans. And we are continuing to
that's
open
awesome.
a lot of stores. And so
Power team, man.
there's going to be a lot of stuff happening before the end of the year. But
Stay
I'm not allowed to
tuned for
announce
your
anything, but
Christmas.
Lots of fun stuff. Cannabis Culture coming to your town sometime soon, hopefully.
Dave's on it right here. We got Dave
Yeah,
in the
good
back.
weed, 19 plus.
Dedicated guy that works for us is
Dave.
right here.
Yeah, hey,
Dave.
Dave, what's up, Dave?
there.
You're really, really,
Look
you're
at-
really busy.
Dave's
Look,
getting a
you're
raise.
Really busy.
I think he should, because if it wasn't for Dave,
Hey,
Yeah,
and Bri-
man,
hey,
what would we-
hey,
would-
He's always
Brian
rocking.
Dixon-
He looks
Honestly, the
after
show
us.
wouldn't
This
function
guy right
properly
here.
without Dave.
right there.
Hey,
Thanks, Dave.
Brian
Thanks,
Dixon-
Dave.
Brian
Look at, he
Dixon-
doesn't even flinch.
He doesn't.
No, Dave, it's
J-Mac's
okay.
trying to get
It's
in there,
okay,
bud.
Dave. Take a bow. Dave, take a
On that
bow.
note,
He
you
just
think
won't
we should do
even.
this?
He's so dedicated.
We done?
Yeah, we are.
There we go.
Night, Johnny B.
Don't
Peace,
forget to get
guys.
iTunes.
Peace Pod TV.
Thanks
Say
to
bye,
this guy.
J-Mac.
Bye, J-Mac.